Aloha, everyone. I am your host, Jason Schwartz. We're here at the Neutral Zone, MauiNeutralZone.com. We are on KAKU 88.5 FM radio, and you'll see it at Akaku TV here locally on YouTube and all around the world. I have a guest that was with us a couple of years ago now, and many of you on Maui know him very well. This is Nick Drance. Nick, welcome to our show again.
Thank you. Aloha.
Nick has a website. Nick is a man of many seasons, but he has a website, TheMauiMiracle.org, which was a presence in the last election, and you're doing it again, aren't you? You're out there sharing your ideas and views. Very happy to see that. This is a very unusual time because sharing is not in person anymore. It's extremely online. Have you found it to be people be very receptive to what you're doing?
Well, yeah, actually, as long as they have access to it, yes, they are receptive. But, I'm a people person and I miss that contact. And then, of course, all the candidates, people want to get to know them and get a feel for them. And so everything's by Zoom, no more community associations with big rooms of people. But we all have to, make those adjustments.
We adopt and adapt. In fact, last night I saw a movie you might want to watch, 2047 Virtual Revolution, talking about more and more people getting online. In the year 2047, 95% of the people spend most of their time online. And because your heart and your mind, whether you have a friend in a story that's real or one that's physical, it reacts in the same in the brain. So the whole world then is online. I hope that's not where it goes.
Well, no, and online can be very deceptive. They can change people's faces and make them say other words, and and then if, God forbid, we had a cyber attack that disabled our internet, which is going to be the new form of warfare coming up, we'd be toast.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Well, we should probably jump in because I'm sure there's a lot going on. We're in 2020, and this COVID thing has made all of us wear masks and be retreating. So your site to me is even more valuable than it was last time. I hope everyone that's listening will go to TheMauiMiracle.org. When I look at your site, besides being very beautifully done, the content is so rich. It's like you don't say anything unless you back it up, which is the world should take a lesson from you. What do you think are the most important things that are going on now that you want to be sure to address? Because I know we'll talk about them all, but what's the top of your list?
Well, it was a regular election until, I guess, a few weeks ago. We're a small island. The people that I support are grassroots people with, they get small donations, but, the people that I support have been on the council, except for the two, and done a great job. And all those things are great. They proposed these 7 charter amendments. They're adequately explained in a number of places. And then all of a sudden, a few weeks ago, I think it was a few weeks ago, this other organization based in Reno, with David Gillum is the name of the guy, he's a political guy, made a super PAC and dropped $120,000 into the election to vote to unseat most of the current council members and vote no on all 7 amendments. And usually when somebody has an encouragement of a number of amendments to vote one way or the other, it's like, oh, well, we don't like this one or we don't like that one. They don't like all 7. So, I mean, if you got that much mainland money and it's all 7, something fishy going on here.
Does he have any local interests here? I mean, have we been able to discover where this guy's local interest is?
Well,
Not
no.
specifically.
Well, it's the same way. It's the same way actually for somebody else that we elected in Maui County government, who took in such vast amounts of money from both the mainland and Honolulu, and you wonder where's all that money coming from, and who's it benefiting? Well, it's so much money that somehow or other it relates to money interests here on the island that flow back to Honolulu or the mainland, but it's money interests. And if you look at the big corporations here that are into development or construction or engineering or all kinds of things that relate to that, there's a lot of money to be made here on this island. So when you see people spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, that's because it's about millions of dollars of profits that go to the mainland and Honolulu.
Yeah. Well, why don't, before we could start at the charter amendment, but let's take a look, if you're okay with that. Do you want to do a quick sweep? I don't think we need to deal with a national election. I think
that's another thing.
Oh, be still my heart. I try not to think too much about that. What about for Congress, though? Is there any federal election here that you have this clear picture on? They're talking about this guy, Kai Kahele.
Yeah.
And yet, because of his stance on 5G, I've heard about people. Do you have any feeling for any of those people in that race?
I don't, I'm almost embarrassed to say, but I'm very up on national politics with policy and so forth, and local, and the House and the Senate. For Maui, I haven't kept up.
I just wondered if you had came upon anything specifically, because this COVID time has been very hard. I don't have any idea who these candidates really are, and unless you do a tremendous amount of work, it's hard to find out who all these people are. That's why I appreciate all that you're doing and what you do. So I'll leave that one alone. So done with state, but I know that on the state level, there's a lady in Kihei who I've come to know is just a champion, Tina Wildberger.
Yeah,
you know Tina Wildberger.
Yeah, she's in our state house, our South Maui State House District 11 representative, and yeah, she's out there. She's on top of all kinds of issues that is not just for her South Maui 11 district, but island-wide, county-wide in many instances. And she works closely with some of our council members as well, who represent the other two islands. Yeah, she's great. And Angus McKelvey is the other person that we support.
Right. I remember, it's so funny having done these interviews all these years. Everyone starts as a newbie and then they grow into their roles. But Tina hit the ground running. I don't know. She just immediately. And Angus, I remember when Angus was first starting and you felt a little unsure. Now he is out there and more outspoken. And I guess a lot of people have really seen he's grown into his role very well. It's good to see.
It's interesting because you wonder about that sometimes because, some of the council members were new and didn't have political experience before, which is something that a lot of people found very attractive about them. And it's stunning how quickly they boned up and became knowledgeable. And if anybody watches the council meetings on Zoom, because it's so easy, it's Legistar. You can go sign up on it on the county website. The amount of minutia and detail that they talk about and discuss and have to be knowledgeable about it's breathtaking. But they stepped up to the plate and they've done it. The new ones have done it.
These last 2 years have been, in my memory, the most extraordinary of the last 20 plus. So much has happened in these last years. There's been so much work. The fact that they have 7 things on the ballot is just extraordinary. Really important things. And like you said, a lot of thought and effort has gone into this. And I take my hat over to these people, off my hat to all the information that they've had to get in, process, and then come out. I myself, there's one gal that you and I both know named Kelly King.
Yeah.
Kelly King has been a champion, and these guys really are listening. It's a great thing when you go to see someone who's in a seat, and you can tell they really are listening to your input. They're not like fixed in their positions.
And she's really hardworking. What I've heard other people say is that this is the hardest working council we've ever had, and she's the hardest working council member on the council. And of course, she spearheaded the effort to withdraw the Lahaina injection well case from the Supreme Court, and actually the entire council backed her. And somehow, the charter does give our legislative branch, which is the county council, the county charter does give them specific powers and authorities, and without going into the complexities of all that. And when that thing happened, and a couple of other things, Corporation Council, which is the legal side of the county, and the mayor's office just shut them down as if the county council had no say and no power. And he did it in ways which is actually common for him, with really no conversation, no negotiation, no discussion. And that Lahaina injection well thing is the same thing. So a couple of these amendments, one of them related to who's on a committee that reviews the charter and discusses changes. Instead of that being only the mayor, it's now one of the provisions is that it's the council and the mayor. So, you have a legislative branch who represents the people, and incidentally, they've also established term limits for themselves and the mayor. I mean, you can tell that they're definitely, dedicated to Maui Nui and taking care of things, and they're not career politicians beholden to money, because they themselves want to limit their own terms, which we all, agree with. That's another charter amendment proposal. So these charter amendments are needed. And the other thing about the county director, we're one of the few, I can't say few, but most municipalities in the country have a managing director in this position. We don't. And it's an improper form of government. It's lopsided. So
doesn't the mayor have a managing director now?
Well, he has a managing director that is not required to have the level of professional skills required to manage a county. And for somebody like us, our budget is pushing $1 billion a year. So I mean, you really have to have somebody who has the academic acumen and experience to deal with that. It's like a big company. That's one thing. And if you hire, the mayor doesn't necessarily have that expertise. We do have the position, however. We're not adding a position. We're changing a position to have more authority and probably get some more pay, but we already have the position. It's just that position has to be structured more like other municipalities.
I heard someone say that what you hear in the ads, I don't know if I can trust it, but if there was a managing director and it doesn't pencil out to have a full staff in Hana or in Molokai for fire, that they wouldn't have a full staff. I wouldn't think that person was sane. How would he get there to be managing director? The examples they use are so obtuse and so absurd.
Well, it's like national politics. People say things that are so unbelievable. I mean, if it sounds too good to be true or too bad to be true, it probably isn't. And people say things that aren't true, but they spin it so that, I mean, you can't believe that somebody would actually say something that's that dishonest and look you in the eye and say it. Happens all the time.
And the fact that the ad comes out that shows all the former mayors not wanting the managing director to have more power and authority, I thought is a good reason to vote for it.
Well,
they all want anyway.
Well, that's how I feel. That's how I feel about it. If somebody from the mainland is willing to put out $120,000, which vastly eclipses the, council members' budgets combined, probably double or triple. Oh, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So something's fishy there. And as far as the other mayors go, well, if you look at the amount of development on the island, and until recently with this new council, the lack of affordable housing. This is due to prior administrations.
There is.
There's big money. I don't want to accuse anybody of doing something, unethical, but the mayors historically have been oriented towards big business more so than taking care of residents and the health of the island.
And I've seen them push this housing thing for 20 plus years. They keep pushing it back. And now it's a crisis here. I mean, I could get very specific, but I'll stay away from it. That was a phone call from Ariel, my partner.
Hey, Ariel.
But like when there's no emergency housing on Molokai, zero. And when there are people there that need help and there's no help and that kind of stuff, there's no help. And that you talk to people on Maui to try to find help. And yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's like they're still so far behind the eight ball. I don't know how they're going to catch up or how we're going to solve some of these emergencies that are right now. And I don't know, but we sure have to do something. I'm hoping that we can be much more aggressive on the area of affordable housing.
Well, Kelly King has got, I think it's 3, might be 2 affordable housing projects here in South Maui. One of them is almost completed. And the other council members have done other things in other districts, but the county has to send people around or have Zoom meetings to discuss the budget. So the 2022 budget is being discussed right now, and this is an opportunity for people to participate. But the certain people on the council now are very interested in residents, diversifying the economy, food security, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's not that they're anti-development. It's just there's got to be a healthy balance. And it's been so lopsided. That's what we can't have, is that lopsidedness.
And with all that's happening now, it could be argued, probably correctly, that we don't need any more of the expensive development now. We really need to focus much, much more on the affordable housing thing.
Well, there's 144 acres in the planning department here in South Maui, 144 acres. And what I find curious is if we build 144 acres of luxury homes, the residents don't benefit from that, except for there's some more traffic, we have to pay for more infrastructure. But if the many, many millions of dollars are being spent there and residents basically don't get much out of it, well, how can that be? I mean, nobody can force an island to self-destruct. We've already got a water shortage upcountry, also on the west side. We're in actually technically drought conditions right now with climate change. Who knows what's going to happen? And our little tiny island can only handle so much. So the people that live here their needs need to be secured first.
Well, your words, Los Angelesification, are more true than ever. So I want to bring that word up again. I know you talk about all that on your website. So let's go down, just because I think we deserve to. I don't know Tom Cook. I'm sure he may be a beautiful guy, has a lot of ideas, but I personally feel inclined to support Kelly. I really want that continuity and really feel she's done an extraordinary job personally.
You and a lot of other people, I've watched them on interviews and so forth. And, Kelly just rattles off facts and she's so knowledgeable about things. Tom had more knowledge than I expected, he being outside of, the political realm for some years. He is a developer, so that has a lot to do with what he is more knowledgeable about is development than Kelly. But I think she's safe in this election. She has done remarkable things for residents.
And I think I know it's one of the charter amendments, a Department of Agriculture. The food security idea and all that we need to do to be responsible to ourselves, and not only as an island, but for the world. I think that is super important, that it become an absolute department and it has the time and attention that it needs to be that important.
Well, the opposition says that the purpose of it is to impose more regulations. And that's not the purpose of it at all. It's to diversify our economy and support a proper type of farming that is not industrial farming necessarily. There might be some of that, but we can't keep having development and things happening on the island, and all the money goes to the mainland. And the people that live here end up with relatively low-paying jobs. But one way or the other, the money doesn't stay on Maui.
Right.
So we've got to take care of our own first, and the Department of Agriculture will help. We've got a really healthy farming community. Bill Green and many others are really expert on sustainable farming, and they know what to do. They need support.
Yeah. And like you say, there are some great people, Bill Greenleaf and Lucienne. We can go on with a list of people here. We have a really rich community. I don't want to go off on a tangent. So that's one. Who else is on council? I know that
Well, Kayani
Rollins Fernandez from Molokai has been extremely active, and she's been also very dynamic in the kind of leadership that she's shown in this last couple of years.
I wondered about her because she has a very strong economic background, I think, academic. I think she has an MBA, and she also has she's also an attorney, but I didn't see a lot of, business or other experience in her resume. So I really wondered how was she going to handle things. And she's just went right in there, and she helped discuss some of our tax code, not major changes, but in ways that earned us back a AAA plus bond rating, which means the county can borrow money,
at a preferred rate.
She's vice chair of the council. She's also chair of the budget committee. So she's a good person to have in there. Speaking of committees, Kelly King is chair of the Climate Action and Resiliency Committee, which is a new committee that was formed. And we all know climate change, all of a sudden everybody's talking about it. It's been in the Maui Miracle for a couple of years now, but shoreline erosion, sea level rise, dealing with higher ocean temperatures that harm the reefs, the fact that sea level rise is really going to happen, and so much of our coastal roads up around on the west side, Lanipoco area, and then also North Kihei and portions of South Kihei Road will be underwater, and sometimes they're flooded now.
I am amazed when I saw the Hilton stuff going on in North Kihei. I keep thinking they should build a boat dock there. I just don't know why they even think to put the road back in. It's like, it is crazy. I don't know. I think that people just can't grok that it is real. It just seems that we push problems off until they come and bite us. I think that happens everywhere, but man, it is getting real apparent. I think it was into actually today's paper. There's an interesting article about the sea level rise. I say interesting. I don't know. It's a major thing. I mean, raising roads is one thing, but the properties on both sides will be underground, so underwater.
Yeah, it's a major problem, and you can't just keep kicking the can down the road.
No.
But if there's people in county government that are beholden to big business, or actually, I think they're in positions where they never dealt with $800 million before. And so it goes to their head and they lose their head. And suddenly they start thinking like a mainlander instead of the island way. And so they lose their path. And all of a sudden, all that money goes to their head and becomes a priority for them instead of looking after Maui Nui and its people. So, but these council members, they're grassroots, non-career politicians who now want to pass this charter amendment to limit their terms, actually, so other citizens can take those positions when it's time. And they are into a balanced economy, a balanced economic situation that takes everybody's interests into account.
I've been really pleased myself with the kind of progress they've made. And let's go down. We're going to continue through it. Let's go to our list. I'm only doing this because I'd like the names to be out there and clearly.
Well, Tamara Paulton from the West Side, she's also quite knowledgeable. And this Oahu affordable housing thing that one of the council members, which I don't support, voted for it, but it's on a piece of land that Hawaiians never built on because they knew better. And she voted for it, and a couple of other people on the council voted for it, but there's no water there, there's no infrastructure. And Tamara said, she made a very good point. She said, putting it there makes urban sprawl. If you're going to have more affordable housing or development or anything, don't put it in the middle of an open space land. Put it where the other housing and development stuff is, but don't start covering the whole island with development. It's not appropriate.
Well, when you say sprawl, I remember I used to drive from Los Angeles to Las Vegas and remember all the incredible open spaces along the way that are now filled with houses, and talk about sprawl. Who can imagine driving 45 minutes on a highway or an hour and a half to go to work? Crazy stuff.
It's great. And that's why I call it Los Angelesification.
Yes.
Because like all the development plans, like this new civic center gentrification plan that the county wants for Wailuku, that the citizens don't want, and they know it. And their own spreadsheets project 1.5 million square feet of residential, commercial, and it's not industrial building that will pay property taxes to pay off that project. That's 1.5 Queen centers in Wailuku. So you know that it's not going to look anything like it does now. And these people want that because, money, but residents don't want it. Now, the mayor did tell them to scale that project down, but it's almost impossible to stop them with things like that. So sprawl, that's urbanization.
Sure is.
So Tamara's good. Keani, Kelly King, of course, we mentioned. Some people have different thoughts about Mike Molina. The Sierra Club endorsed him. I happen to like him. I think he's a fair and square guy. He listens to both sides of the argument.
He really does. He listens. And processes it. He's not, You found that different with different council people. I know you've had issues with a couple of the others that talk one way and then their vote comes out another way. So I know you've put allegiance, for example, in Kahului, when last time Tasha Kama was a champion, and now, based on a couple of votes. Do you know Carol Lee Kamakona? Have you spoken much to her?
I do. Yeah, I know her pretty well. And I am supporting her. And I have to say that one time Tasha Kama last time said, Nick, you're working harder on my campaign than I am. And I really was, it turns out that she has a different point of view about things, and she tends to vote more with money interests and, quote, establishment things in ways that disappointed myself and I suppose most of the supporters that encouraged her election win. So yes, I'm supporting Carol Lee Kamakona. She's a really nice person. She has a lot of community experience. I consider her more Hawaiian than a lot of other people, I won't name names, but culturally, where her head is at, where things that she's been involved in. Admittedly, she's going to have to be one of those that steps up to the plate the same way the others did. And I think she can do it. And with their help, I think she can do it. But it is another step for her. But one thing we know is that we can trust her to look after the good of the island and residents and the island's health. So Carol Lee Kamakona, yeah, for Kahului, that's a very important race. Another one is Ricky Hokama.
Vacated his seat after the term, yeah.
He's run out of his terms now. And so Gabe Johnson is the one that is really a grassroots guy. He's just such a regular guy. Somebody we got to get in there to represent people.
He's a really, like I said, I've met him. When people run for a while, you get to meet him. He's a very nice, personable guy. I think of him like I think of Mike Molina, in the sense that he's there and he's very present and listening and grasps it and plays with issues in a way that make me feel like he'll do a really good job if he beats.
Level-headed, grounded.
Yeah. And I know Alberta DeJetley some too. And I know that some people think, they wonder what about her newspaper. I think the newspaper was financially very challenged. And the fact that Larry Ellison bought a newspaper isn't maybe the greatest thing in the wisdom of newspapers, but on an island that has no other newspaper, I think it was good to keep a newspaper alive.
Right.
And anyway, so that's Lanai and Molokai. What about Hana? Have you interviewed? I've never really spoken to Claire Carroll, but I know I like Shane. Shane is a very personable guy and he's listening to things. I've had real good feeling about him.
Yeah. What was it? Tom Carroll? No.
Bob Carroll.
Bob Carroll. Nice guy.
Yeah.
So that's his daughter. And she doesn't really have a lot of political experience. She has that name. I think that she took a role in the community association over there, but that's about the extent of it. But Shane Sinensi has done a remarkable job.
Yep.
He was an educator. He's another one of those people that stepped up to the plate. Part of it is because he's a Hawaiian, and because within the Hawaiian culture, they're so close to the land that they understand things, agriculture, water distribution. Island-wide, I've spoken to even his other relatives who tell me what this side of the island used to be like. I mean, it's such a long history, and it's just part of a family thing. So Shane is in charge of the agricultural department, committee right now. That's not the exact name for it, but he's done an excellent job. And he is one of 3 people also that sponsored these proposals for these charter amendments. He's been working very closely with Keani, Kelly, and the whole council. But I can't say enough about Shane Sinensi.
I'm with you. Sure, we're leaving out a couple. I know there are a couple of races that don't have any challenges, like Alice Lee for Wailuku area and upcountry Yuki Sugimura. I always wonder when that happens, whether it's people don't have a problem with them or there's just no one deciding to run. I don't know. But they've got a free pass this time. And some people have questioned some of the votes that they've made, but they're not in the mix this time.
Well, I will say that Yukile Sugimura is known for voting against the council and with the mayor and the establishment and the administration. Now, that's not necessarily saying anything bad about her, but almost exclusively, that's the way she votes. And it's like somebody coming in from the mainland and saying, not even one of those charter amendments is good. All of them are bad. And it makes you wonder if somebody always votes one way, or they say all charter amendments are bad, it's like, I don't know about that. I mean, everything needs some degree of balance, and actually, that's what the charter amendments are aiming to achieve. But I, she believes in what she does, and
Yeah.
she
And
often.
I know her a long time when she was in Wailuku, very heavily involved there in the town area. She's hardworking, and actually, I've had really, with her and Alice Lee, I've had really good experiences when I talk to them about specific things. So I never really think of them as adversarial, and I hope we can keep that non-adversarial attitude so that we can keep moving forward on things that could be more sensitive. And if you don't try them, we don't get them. So I'm still into really supporting the very progressive things, and hope we can get support
Well,
from some of these people.
this is one of the main things about these grassroots county council people now that are not career politicians. They've made it a point to somehow find a way to work with the entire council, including people that they disagree with, and to maintain good personal relationships with those people so that they can work together to a degree that I find very surprising. They've really done a great job of, setting out to work as a team.
Yeah, that's really something they all should really be feeling very proud of,
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I hope that Ricky Hokama becomes a sort of a statesman. Maybe he can use some of his wisdom from the outside and come as a citizen. It'd be interesting to see his role when he doesn't have power attached to it, how he'll fit into this mix now. I remember when his father was running. In fact, I ran against his father and legal way back when I was a child here. Um, yeah, I still think he has great, but he has a lot of knowledge. I'd like to see him soften a little bit. Many people find him very hard, but I think we're gonna, if we can keep this good attitude going, maybe we can walk into the future and think of things locally and still use the wisdom of some of these. Like, he's had such experience with all the mayors across the country. I'm sure that he can be very helpful and valuable, like all the veterans that have been on that are now off council, or the mayor, all these guys, the old mayors, to be helpful, because there's a lot to be done. And just because you're in a few offices, we always, I'm sure you know that, we look to our leaders to lead, but we have to be involved. Otherwise, we can't expect them to do it without all of us constantly being involved and helping keep things on track. That's why I like to think that our world is a participation sport, not something that every couple of years you can vote and walk away. It's important to be involved like you are, and like you say, legistar, and be able to get on there and be current with all that's going on.
The council meetings are really interesting, and now that it's happening on Zoom, you can go to the county website and county council and press a button and say, I want to get an email that tells me about the meetings or the agendas or something like that. When you have time, you look it up, you see who's meeting, the committees, you click on the agenda, you see what they're talking about. It's so easy. And if you do it on Zoom, it's so easy to give public testimony and share your thoughts about things. But it's interesting. It's not a pain in the butt. But the Maui Miracle happens when enough people vote so that it's the residents who influence what happens on the island instead of people on the mainland and people, a small number of people who are making a great deal of money. The Maui Miracle happens when it's the residents and the voters who determine the future of Maui. And that is not really a miracle. People just have to vote.
I hope that our number, I keep hearing that nationally, the numbers of voters
Off
they
the
expect
charts.
off the chart. I hope that continues to here in Maui County, and it would be refreshing to have more and more people involved in everything we're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
Have we gone through all the council seats? I don't know. Have we?
Yep, we pretty much covered that.
And so now when I look at this election time, I know that after the election and with all the budgets changing and all the revenues changing. It's going to be hard to know where we're going from here. Do you have any kind of ideas about what we can do to help create more here, more jobs, more things that are island centric?
Thank you for bringing that up. You know, it's October 19th, and the CARES Act funding that we got, which was, I think it was around $100 million the county received, and that has to be spent by December 15th. And almost none of that money is going towards economic diversification for workers. It's going to small business or this or that, and many millions remain unspent. But I don't understand that, because with, you know, the Maui food bank is serving 40,000 people a month right now. Normally it's 10,000. Right now it's 40,000. So, you know, they donate to them. It's long lines. Kihei Baptist Church went from South Kihei Road just about all the way to Pi'ilani Highway. Food bank. The Maui Economic Board is not a government agency, but they have pursued economic development and worked on career paths for science, technology, healthcare, all kinds of different things for 15 years. And they should be getting this money because they could manage it and manage auxiliary community organizations that are all along with the university to give employment opportunities to people who are going to be out of the hospitality industry or not be pigeonholed into that. Yeah. And the county's not doing that. And I can't, you know, I mean, it's free money that is to be allocated towards mitigating the destructive effects of COVID, which of course unemployment is one of the biggest ones. I can't understand why the administration has not earmarked that as a priority.
I don't really understand their economic development department personally.
Well, it's not, excuse me, it's not part of the county, it's an economic board.
No, I'm talking about in the county.
Oh,
you know, I've watched now for 20 years. They have an Office of Economic Development. And I don't know what to say. I have never felt like they're receptive and open to creative and positive ideas.
No, they are not. And what's interesting is that the council really has no oversight over what they do. And they are like their own rogue entity that has tremendous power. And it makes absolutely no sense.
No, it doesn't. To me,
it's Maui Economic Redevelopment Agency is part of the government, and they are the ones that are pushing for urbanization. And it's economic redevelopment. I don't know about redevelopment. How about development, the economy, diversification, jobs? You know, not building 1.5 million square feet in Wailuku,
right.
But
and
they are
island centric. Like we talk about, keep the monies here, work things that can build and develop here. I don't see that.
All of Maui County.
Yeah, it really is crazy. I'm just looking at our time. We're probably good. Anything you want to say? I mean, I know that we're just sort of talking about it. I don't want to miss anything that's important to you. Any of the charter amendments you want to look at more closely, or anything that specifically you'd like to give explanation to, or anything?
Well, you know, we've got term limits. We extend the affordable housing fund. We didn't talk about that. It allocates, instead of 2% for affordable housing, 3%. And that 3% of property taxes is like, it's a lot of money, hundreds, pushing $1 billion. So if you get, you know, if you add 1% more allocated towards affordable housing, that's one of the charter amendments. And that's based on, you know, property taxes. And that does achieve some sort of balance to, like, you know, the 144 acres that's going to happen in South Maui. At least those guys are going to be paying an extra 1%, or 1% of whatever they pay is going to go towards affordable housing. that
I can't see why anyone would say we can't afford that. I mean, that group that's putting out their blanket, we can't afford it. Such a bogus group. I mean, I can't get over, like you say, someone's just coming in and they just want to stop everything they're doing. They're just a mass stop. That one, I don't see any reason anyone should say no to that one. I
yeah,
don't.
Maui actually is considered around the globe a sacred place. There are people that come to spiritual retreats from around the world to pray here. Now, whether you're into praying and spirituality or whatever, but this place does have that reputation. They don't call Maui the demigod, who's known throughout Polynesia, millions of square miles of the Pacific, Polynesia, New Zealand. He is legendary, and his name is not Oahu, it's Maui. So, and actually in the Maui Miracle, there's a history section that gives a lot of information about that. But, this isn't Miami Beach. This isn't Fontana. This is a very small sacred island. And one of my main motivations about the Maui Miracle was to recognize that is, you can't keep building giant shopping centers in Kahului. Now you got these empty Lowe's. We have so much empty retail space now. Well, why do they keep doing that on a sacred island? The places are empty. And we have infrastructure things, the injection wells, for example, that water needs to be further cleaned and used for irrigation instead of wasted. And that costs money, but it's a priority because we can't keep polluting the waters around us, without going into like all the things that we need to take care of. But there's a pretty good list, and those things are going to come and bite us in the butt in the next 5, 10, 15, 30 years.
Yeah.
And people complain about what it's going to cost now. Well, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Wait till you get a load of what it's going to cost if we wait 20 or 30 years. You think it's bad now? Ooh, if we don't do it now.
Right. And we can say that because we've already gone 20 years on problems and see the costs have exploded. I know. Yeah. Well, Nick, you are not only a terrific guest, but you're also a really wonderful guy. I'm happy to really call you my friend. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, I thank you. The feeling's mutual, and for somebody who has lived here for so long and such a part of the fabric of the community, to hear you say that, it means a lot to me, and I really appreciate it. I do have a lot of flaws, though. And some of them I'm embarrassed about, and I've misspoken at times, and I'm so grateful that people are forgiving and overlook those things. Not that I've been like that bad, but yeah, everybody has their good and bad points, and I
think of it as you're over enthusiastic sometimes.
Yeah,
I've been accused of that myself. Hey, you got a good tan though. You be still getting out in the sun. Aren't the beaches great? We got a lot more room on the beaches.
Now after COVID, after getting stuck for so long, I'm looking in the camera and I'm not sunburned. It looks like I am there. I've got to adjust the color a little bit.
I have more color than I have seen.
You heard that thing about Donald Trump? He had an orange tan. See the color of my hand? That's more my true color. I'm not as. I just made a comparison between me and Donald Trump.
That's about all I could compare, if you want to compare.
Well, I'm trying to keep as many wrinkles away as possible in my old age. So,
well, you're nowhere near old age. Your vitality. I talk like that, but I'm 69 years old. So I can't believe how old I am because I still feel young and vital. And
you are.
I don't know. I remember seeing pictures of my aunt and uncle at 39, and they looked like old people. You know, it really looked old. We are so blessed to be getting healthier and healthier and living longer lives. So, God willing, we'll all be healthy and continue to be vital and part of our society here. And even as we're staying at home, I know that we really are together in our hearts. And when I think of someone who is committed to making it a better world for everyone, I think of you. I know that when I think about in everything that I've seen you do, you have such a loving and giving heart. You really do.
Thank you, thank you. I'm so grateful for my blessings. I, I count them off at night before I go to sleep. Not every night, but a lot of times I am so grateful, appreciative, because I don't take those things for granted. But it's good to give back. And if you believe in aloha, live it.
Yeah. So. TheMauiMiracle.org. So all of you out there in radio, television, and internet land, go there. You find it very rich and enriching and a good guide, not only for this election, but just in general, a very good guide to really very quality. I'm really, it's a beautiful site, really a tremendous amount of work in putting out good information. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Nick Drance, you've been a wonderful guest, and we hope to have you again off election season. Just so happened it was right before election time. I thought, hey, I should have you come on again and share with our audience in perfect time right before our elections.
Good. Thank you. I appreciate you having me. Thank you, Jason.
You're most welcome. And all you out there in listening land, we're happy to have you. Hope you will enjoy this show again if you'd like to listen to it again. And any of our other shows, MauiNeutralZone.com, up on YouTube, all around the world. We love you and hope that you think like we do, that Maui is a sacred place and we want to keep it that way. Don't we?
Right.
Blessings to you all, and see you again.
Okay. Thank you. Aloha.